Earl Givens Jr. is currently the interim provost? Provost, Dean of Learning Resources, Director of the Correha Lynn Black Library, and Special Assistant to the President for Leadership Development at Catawba College in Salisbury, North Carolina, USA. He was instrumental in initiating programs and technology to advance the changing future of the campus library for the 21st century. He worked closely with campus departments to implement augmented reality and virtual technology to the Catawba College, always on the cutting edge of technology. He is involved in library projects that push the envelope in academic libraries. He's committed to transforming the face of the library by integrating traditional library practices with contemporary technology to create sustainable futures. Prof holds his MLS from Emporia State University with an emphasis in library technology, a Bachelor of Arts in American History, and is a graduate of Harvard's Graduate School of Education in Organizational Leadership. Colleagues, let's give a warm, resounding welcome all the way, joining us from North Carolina and the USA, to Prof. Earl B. Givens, Jr.
Thank you, everyone. This is very exciting. I thank you for the invitation. I'm joining you early in the morning from North Carolina here in the USA. I am excited about the conversation you were having. I was listening in. These conversations are critical in the success of our communities and libraries. I will encourage you to continue to have these hard conversations. We're actually going to talk a little bit about this today, actually a lot about it today in this keynote, because this is the way that we're going to start building for success in libraries. When we're benchmarking against libraries and looking at where we stand, there's a new way to look at how we can serve our communities, and it's through partnerships. And I say that as one who, the library in which I supervise or curate, we have the lowest budget in our entire region. And the only way we've been able to have success is to partner. And we have partners who I never thought would be partners in my lifetime, but it's having the conversations and getting them to believe in what you believe in. And so here we are, from strategy to culture, building sustainability in library organizations. And so Peter Drucker, this quote was read earlier. I thank you for that. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Oftentimes, the future is also met with a lot of angst and uncertainty. And so we're just really not sure what's coming. And we're constantly watching our budgets be cut. We're watching the challenges that we're faced with in our libraries, in our communities, and we're wondering what the future holds. And so one of the things that in leadership that has been taught to us is, if you're worried about the future, start thinking about the future now and start helping shape that future. And so in doing that, one of the things that we wanted to do is shape the future by shaping it with a culture of sustainability. And so I firmly believe the future of libraries is a culture of sustainability. And the reason why is because sustainability touches every single area of our lives. When you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, all 17 of them, they can be broken down in these 4 different areas. You know, we have our economy, we have equity, we have the environment, and we have health and well-being. And in our history at this institution, and especially in America, we have focused on environment and environment only, and we've missed the other pieces of sustainability. And it's been to our detriment. We've watched individuals work hard and organizations work hard in isolation around good work in doing work toward the environment. But we've also watched how we've become less equitable, how our economy has flipped upside down, and health and well-being is being ignored. And so we're trying to recapture that. And what we have found is one of the best ways to recapture it is not necessarily in strategy and strategy alone, but in culture. It's culture which drives everything. Strategy is good, but whenever you have a dynamic leader or dynamic leaders move on from who are the drivers of that strategy, then all of a sudden progress stops because culture was never adjusted to meet the strategy. They have to work together. So we'll get more into that a little later. So, but right now, I'm going to set up this presentation, this keynote, by talking to you in three phases. I'm going to talk to you about our now at our institution, and then I'm going to talk to you about the new, and I'm going to talk to you about the next. This video, what you're seeing now, is a 169-acre preserve that sits right behind my library, and it's part of our commitment to sustainability and preserving our land and water. And we are constantly doing work. It's as part of our campus. We teach our courses in this space. We take our community members through this space, and we work together and collaborate to educate them and start a new culture in sustainability on our campus. And so I'm going to show you some of the highlights of what we've done. And then we're going to talk about the truth and how you can implement it. All right. So this is our green tech that we produce at our library. Our library has gone through a phase of strategic planning as well as our campus, but we started it first at our library. And my background in leadership has allowed us to be able to kind of stay ahead of our campus. And as a result, it's like, I think it's the reason I'm the interim vice provost now. You do a good job in something and then they make you do everything, right? So, but our library led the charge in the implementation of sustainability. And I want to preface this by saying we weren't always here. Our institution looked at sustainability as environment and environment only. And then as I worked with OCLC and the Global Council, and I was blessed to be able to work with colleagues from around the world on the sustainable development goals and how they can be projected into the now and into the future in libraries. It broadened our scope and our perspective. And as our perspective was broadened, we realized it was time to change our strategic focus. And it's what you see here before you. So we made sustainability our strategic focus and also the culture around it. And so green tech came up in that. And with green tech, what the goal here was to introduce technology in a sustainable way, but also in a way that impacts the future and is inclusive for all people. So the robots that do the farming are actually powered by the sun. So they're solar robots. They do the farming. The farming and the food that is produced is used on our campus and used for our community as well. And the community immediately around our campus, and we are in conversations to do a large community garden for those who are on the lower socioeconomic end in our community, to provide fresh food for them. And we're going to do that through this green tech. Green tech will be a piece of it. There will still be other pieces that have nothing to do with technology, but this is a piece of it. The technology that's used here, one, it's solar powered. Two, the software is open source. And that was key. Everything that we do now, everything we introduce must be inclusive for all people. It must be resilient and stand the test of time. And so open source software allows us and others to be able to code and help create and expand and move away from being tied proprietarily to vendors and paying high vendor prices. The only thing we paid for this was the fee for the robots. That was it, one-time fee. Everything else we maintain through partnerships. There is no extra cost except cost and time and human resources, and we do that through the partnerships. This allows our students to be able to work within this software This allows anyone with any kind of device to be able to use the software. You don't have to have a high-end computer. You can have a tablet, you can have a phone, and you can work in the software and do your farming. And so that was the goal. Everything we do has sustainability written on it. And then leading the way, our institution became more serious about sustainability. And so we start looking at becoming carbon neutral and pursuing carbon neutrality. And we achieved that this year, which was great. And it was an exciting time, but it's the first piece, right? The work is still not done yet. But one of the things that helped us get to this, and as you'll see in the upper right-hand corner, the stars, this is what we call ASHE. And ASHE is an international membership organization that helps you track sustainability and how you're doing in higher education. And it stands for the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. So in it, they have different rating systems, and you can be bronze, you can as the lowest level tier that you're working up through, silver, which is what we obtained this year as an institution, silver status, and then there's gold, and then there's platinum. And so everything that we do now at the institution in our strategic planning and all that we introduce is following the ASHE model. The ASHE model is built on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So everything that you do will always meet a goal. And it's not something that you can achieve and get one time. You have to report consistently to the organization, and your ranking can change, right? But we use that ranking system as a benchmark to not compete with any other libraries, but to get the best of what we can do for our mission and our values. And the platinum status, we know we're not going to be able to achieve. We don't have the money to build entire buildings in a sustainable fashion. We just don't have that. That's how you get to that platinum status. But the best of what we can offer and what we can do, we will achieve. And so we're on track this year. Once the library actually institutes our institutional repository and self-publishing, open access publishing this year, we will achieve ASHE Gold, and which is realistic for us, and that will be our benchmark moving forward. And so this is my library. It's built in 1952, so it has a lot of challenges. It's a lot of structural challenges. The AC went out this year. It's a 20-year-old system. And remember, I told you we do not have a good budget, so I have no money to be able to replace the air conditioning system. And I was wondering what we were going to do. We do have solar panels. We have a solar library. That was a project that was done through a partnership. So a lot of energy for the library is stored and used in a sustainable way. So it's our goal. We still have things that are in the building that are not sustainable, and as those things fail over the years, like our AC, then we look at new ways of going about adding in sustainability. Sustainability is expensive, though. In the United States, it's very expensive, and I would imagine so worldwide and internationally. It's expensive to do, and so the partnerships are the key. The solar project that you see here is a library is one piece on our campus. All of our buildings have a solar component, and it was all paid for by someone else. And it's because we established the partnerships. But I mentioned our AC went out. And so to replace our air conditioning unit, we were looking at a cost of $128, I believe, $1,000 US dollars, which is just $30,000 shy of my budget, my entire budget. That's all I've got. And so I knew I didn't have the money to replace it. So the first thing that I wanted to do was make sure to engage partners in what could be done. And my partners that I've been able to engage with actually pushed back to me and asked, what would it look like if the AC and the heating were refashioned in a sustainable way? And we went in, we rose to the challenge and looked at that, and the project ends up costing $1.7 million. It's an expensive project. Uh, our partner has paid for it all in full. And so this will, the geothermal heat pumps and how geothermal works, I'll explain that here in just a second if you're unfamiliar with it, will be the process of this will begin to be installed here at our library in December, and it should be done by February. So we're excited about this. And so how geothermal works and what's going to happen in our library is there's going to be a series of wells that will be drilled. The Earth has a cooling temperature of about 52 degrees Fahrenheit. All right. I wish I knew the Celsius calculation, but I apologize. I'm not that smart. I look smart, but yes. Um, 52 degrees Fahrenheit. So as the water comes into the building, the water will come into the building. The energy then that will be used to cool the water, less energy will be used than cooling the heat from outside, which is at 98 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the system works that much harder to cool the hot air and turn it into cool air during our summer months. If we're taking the water at 52 degrees Fahrenheit and bringing it in, it doesn't have to cool it by much. We use less energy, so it's more energy efficient. Likewise, in the wintertime, we don't have to use ice cold air from outdoors and heat it up using gasoline, well, excuse me, gas, propane, or natural gas. We don't have to use that anymore. We're going to use an electric pump that will be able to warm the water, which is at 52 degrees Fahrenheit, warm it to about 72, 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Less energy is used. The building is more efficient. So we're excited about this project. This is us living out sustainability. Um, and I can't wait for this to be installed. And something that's going to last for a very long time and set us on the right path to do things sustainable campus wide. So the library will be the first building with a geothermal heat pump. So then the other things that we've done at the library, I promise you this is going somewhere. The other things that we've done at the library is in the interest of being carbon neutral, we wanted to make sure that everything that we're doing has a sustainable fashion to it. So even our vehicles. So we have purchased a vehicle for the library that allows us to go into the community and do bring technology into our communities to do education in our communities. And we wanted to make sure that it was an electric vehicle. It was something that could ride in tight spaces, but also be able to ride on the streets and be legal by U.S. law to do so. And so we partnered with this company and partnered with a donor to give us the funds to be able to purchase this device, this electric vehicle, and then also get the modifications needed on the electric vehicle. So it's not just electric. So you can't see it in this picture, but the modifications we have is it's in addition to it being electric, it's also solar powered. And then it's actually the solar that is used from it that powers our technology that we take into the local communities. So this is something that has been a dream of mine since I've been here, but I just didn't know if we'd be able to do it. But we've gotten our partners so excited about sustainability and the implications of it on future generations that they have been willing to support us in our community. And then finally, one of the things that we have really focused on is we call it the web. It's connecting through the web, which is well-being, equity, and belonging. And so to make progress on some of our SDG goals 4 and 5, where quality education and gender equality, what we really wanted to do is make sure that we're educating the students that are marginalized. And we're identifying those students early on, and we're going out and recruiting them and getting them and providing them an education to be able to impact their world and their generation. So the students you see here before you are all from different countries, and we worked with them at the point when they were in high school, and we did it online. And so um, it was a pilot partnership, and it's been great. It's something. It's a lot of work, but the power of online, it allows you to have a global reach. And then in addition, we're also reaching into our local communities online to our high schools, and whether they come to our institution or not, uh, it's that's fine. Yeah, we would like to have them here, but the goal is to reach back and make sure we live out these SDGs. And so some of these students who we worked with haven't come to our institution, but they have gone to college, and that's what we want. We want them to go to university. We want them to be able to learn. We want them to be able to grow. We want them to be able to impact their generation. And so if that's our goal and not enrollment, then we're on the right track. Enrollment will be there as long as we continue to press into to the right things, the morally and ethically right things to do in our society. So let's take a look at what's new, okay? And this is important because everything I've talked to you about and all the success that we've had and we continue to have is not because we have any money. Just to be honest with you, it's from partnerships. And so I pulled this picture because this event that took place is an event where you see me in this photograph. I had to establish partnerships. The individuals who are here are new partners, and this is an event I invited them to, and they showed up. They drove from hours away to be able to come to this event and to have conversations and to look at things differently, to be challenged. And what I always say is when we have these conversations, the thing that I always ask everyone to do is come to the table with a beginner's mind. A lot of times we show up with an expert mind. We're all paid for the expertise that we do, and we live in our expertise daily. And we're good at what we do, right? It's the reason we still have a job today. If you were not good, you would not be employed. So we're good at what we do. And we're asked a lot of time to come to the table as an expert because that's what we're paid for. Unfortunately, when you're trying to establish new partnerships, when you're trying to establish a new radical way of doing things, your expert mind is not what you want to lead with because it positions you at the table in such a way where you can no longer learn. And the goal is to come in and to learn, to be curious in how you learn. So you have to approach that with a beginner's mind. And the beginner's mind says, while I may think I know the answer, I'm not going to speak up. I'm going to respond with curious questioning, right? So whenever I hear something that challenges the position that my expert mind has, I will not respond with my expert mind. I will respond with my beginner's mind and ask more questions. This is what we call in coaching listening at level 2, right? Level 1, we're internally listening to ourselves and we're listening to respond. And when we listen to respond, it's the lowest form of listening for one, but when we listen to respond, learning stops, right? There are times where you want to listen to respond. If you're purchasing something and someone's trying to sell you something, you should listen to respond. Don't believe what they're telling you. They're making a sale, right? So you should respond back. But when you're trying to inspire, when you're trying to learn, when you're trying to grow, when you're trying to change, you need to listen at level 2, where you respond with curious questions, and they're powerful questions, right? So practice level 2 listening. Okay, so this is how we did everything. Most of the job of what I do in libraries and for this institution is establish partnerships. That's my job. It's to establish partnerships, and in those partnerships, I'm raising money. That's my job. That's what I do. It's to get the resources needed to be able to impact our students, to impact our communities, and to develop our employees, our human resources. If someone would have told me working in libraries this would be my job, I would not have believed them. But this is where we're at. In America, libraries and museums are always the first things to be cut when there's a shortage of resources, always. And so we have not been the exception in higher education. Our resources have been cut tremendously. As I mentioned earlier, we have the lowest budget in our entire region of all libraries. And yet we do a lot. And we're doing that through partnerships. Some of these partnerships are corporate partnerships, right? Some of them are partnerships with just our students. You'll see here are all of our students, and the person in the middle is the governor of our state. This is a partnership. Our governor has partnered with our students, right? Our governor has said that what gets him excited is working with students. So guess what? He doesn't want to hear from me. He wants to hear from our students. It's my job to make sure that the students represent us well, but that they work with our governor so that things that happen on a local level with laws work in the favor of sustainability, right? Because our governor wants to hear from our students. It's this work that we do to be able to move forward. It's this work that allows us to be able to establish corporate partnerships as well. So how do you do all of this? Okay, now this is where we're going to get in, and I'm asking you now to put on your beginner's mind. Okay, this is probably going to challenge some of us in how we've operated in the past. And I'm going to be honest with you. This approach comes from leadership. What I have done over the years, I have separated leadership, the leadership in which I was trained in developing people. I've separated that from my library work. In the past 3 years, I've put them together. Why I didn't put them together in the beginning, I don't know, to be honest with you. But I decided to put them together, and COVID kind of forced that, and looking at things differently, because I've started to infuse these radical leadership ideas into traditional practices in libraries. It's really helped us change in a fashion that has put us on an upward trajectory of change, and change has been really fast. And it's been exciting. It's been challenging, but it's been exciting and it's been impactful. So what I'm going to share with you are the things that from leadership that I've gleaned. And this isn't everything, okay? This is just a starter for this conversation. There is more to this, and there's a lot to this. But in the interest of time, I'm going to share with you what I have, and maybe it's something that you can use in your libraries as you're reshaping your conversations. And so I talked to you earlier about strategy and culture. The reason why this is important is because this comes from the social change model of leadership. And in the social change model of leadership, whenever you're trying to inspire and change the way people think and look at things differently, there's two levels of that to actually get change. Okay, for you to achieve change, there's two levels of change you must have in order to have radical, real change. If you don't have both of these things, then you are not actually changing. All right, you're looking different for now, but once an event happens, you'll go back to your status quo. Okay, your norm. So in order to actually change, you have to have change at level 1 and level 2. Level 1 is strategy. Okay. It defines our organization's goals, plans, and everything that we're going to implement. And then culture, the beliefs, the ideologies, everything around that. That's level 2. When you put the two together, you actually have real change. If you have one and not the other, change has not actually happened. If you have awesome strategy that has been built upon everything that is right, everything that is good, everything that should work for you, culture will kill your strategy because no one will support it. Likewise, if you have the culture, everyone believes, everyone's moving in the right direction, everyone is ready for change, and everyone wants to do the right thing, but you lack the strategy to do it, you will never achieve it because you don't have a compass, you don't have the vision, and you don't have the just cause that points you in the right way, right? And so you have to have both to actually achieve change. Many times organizations have one or the other, and that's why we circle in one spot for so long. And what happens is people become weary during that time, and you start to lose the support that you once had, right? So you have to have both in order to produce radical change. So let's look at both of them individually so that you can implement this in your libraries if it's something that speaks to you. Beginner's mind, right? So let's talk about strategy first. If you're talking about strategy, the first thing you need to do is overhaul your mission, right? A lot of the missions that we have that are in place are missions that were given to us, that we inherited. Um, and even if they're missions that we've created, sometimes they weren't radical enough, right? They were created at times where we were a little bit more safe in how we were thinking. And so it's time to really challenge those missions, right? Challenge your vision. The mission, of course, is what you do. All right. So um, the mission is what you do. The vision is where you're going, right? So we need to challenge those. What is it that we're actually going to do? At the end of the day, when someone asks, what does my library do? Can I tell them what I do? What's the mission? And the mission should involve other people. It shouldn't involve resources. A lot of library missions are around resources, right? Resources are a part of it. But if you want to get someone excited, it has to speak to them, right? Then the vision, where are we going, right? What's our future? Overhaul these things, right? And so there's a process in which we use to do this. And this comes from the Future Academy. Bill Sharp led it up years ago. And this is something that he used. And it's called the three horizons. It takes a three-dimensional view of the future, right? And so I'm going to talk about that here. In the three horizons, we can identify pockets of the future and the present. So let's talk about this. So we have our now. In the center, we have our transition. And all the way to the right, we have our future. Okay. Everyone starts at the first horizon. Okay. It's, as you see to the left of this graphic, strategic fit, right? So what we're doing in the first horizon, if we're doing things correctly, if we've set up our strategic plan, if we're doing everything right, uh, what we're doing is a strategic fit right now. Okay. But if you follow the line, as time progresses, if you continue to do what you're doing right now, as you go into the future, you see the line begins to fall off, right? Because now what you're practicing today will not be relevant in the future, right? It just won't be, because the future things continue to change. However, all right, if you go into the third horizon, which is talking about your future, remember, we want to create a future because we don't know what the future holds. There are things that we are doing today that are in the present that are pockets of the future that we need to enhance. So when we were looking at our strategic plan and where we wanted to go for the future, we noticed that the things that centered around sustainability and the SDGs are things we wanted to enhance for our future. So that was a pocket of the future existing in the present. So that's the thing we wanted to enhance. And all the other things we were doing that are so great, virtual reality and all of that, that has an expiration date. That technology will not be around forever. So while it's a strategic fit now, and while it's exciting now, in the future, it'll be irrelevant. But the SDGs, by the way that they're written, the way that they were crafted, the way that they're designed, will be relevant throughout time. So we decided that, hey, our third horizon, which is a pocket of the future now, is where we need to invest. And those donors who we were once getting excited about technology and things that were flashy can also be excited about sustainability and some of the technology in it, but more so about the idea of sustainability. So as we follow that line of the pocket of the future, you realize that as you go into the future, it becomes more of a strategic fit over time. Now, if you want to speed that up, this is where the hard work is. This is where the conversations that you were having in the previous session, in the panel, come into play. That's the second horizon. The second horizon is your disruptive change. Okay. This determines whether you will accelerate and move into the future more quickly, or whether you will take the long path by not having the conversation. The third horizon is the long path. Okay. You'll eventually get there, but at what cost? If you go ahead and move into the second horizon, once you've identified your pockets of the present, your pockets of the future in the present, and you use the second horizon as your place to be able to start disruptive change, you can see as you follow the dotted line, it accelerates your progress in your strategic fit and accelerates your progress into the future, right? This is called the three horizons. All right. This has been a very powerful tool that we implemented here at our library, and we implemented campus wide over the course of this past year. And I led that exercise campus wide in us looking at sustainability for our entire organization. Okay. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep moving. I want to leave you some time for questions if you have any. So that's strategy. Okay. Let's look at culture. Because remember, you need both to actually create change. So starting with the mission and vision is great, but that is strategy. Okay. What you want to do is become a little bit more aggressive, become a little bit more radical when it comes to changing your environment to be able to create change. The thing that was most radical for us was establishing what's called a just cause. Okay, and this comes from the work of Simon Sinek. 2019, Simon Sinek wrote a book that is called The Infinite Game. It's a sensational book. I won't tell you about it. Read the book, right? You're librarians, read the book. If it's not in your libraries, get it for your library. The Infinite Game. But in that book, Simon Sinek talks about something new that he coins as a just cause. And a just cause is different than a mission or vision statement, right? Which is more strategy related. A just cause is a statement of your purpose, right? This is how I talked about partnerships. This is the secret to establishing those partnerships, was the just cause. So our just cause stands for something, okay? Not against something. I want you to hear me. It stands for something, not against something. When you're writing a just cause, you do not write words that are negative. And the reason why is where you're demonizing a group. And the reason why is because the goal of the just cause is to include everybody, even those who don't necessarily think like you, but are attracted to the just cause. Then throughout the process of working with you, they begin to think like you, right? But the goal is to include them in through the just cause, not to ostracize them by writing it in such a way where it says they don't belong, okay? So it uses affirmative words, right? So it stands for something. It's optimistic, it's hopeful, it's inclusive, it's open to all who would love to contribute to the cause. It's service oriented, where the primary benefit of what people are reading about your organization, your library, the primary benefit to them means there is no benefit to you in the way it's written. The benefit to you is a result. That's it. But it's not the reason we're doing the work, right? And this is radical. This in business, this is not how we think. We always think of return on investment, right? This is different than that. This is why this was such a challenge to do, because it took a lot of convincing. This was hard work. It's resilient. It's able to endure political and technological change, right? So this just cause is going to be that powerful. And then it's big and bold and idealistic. And here's the key here, ultimately unachievable. It's supposed to be. If it's something you can achieve, then it didn't stretch you far enough. Okay. We're moving beyond goals. We're saying goal to growth, right? There are micro goals within this just cause, but ultimately we keep growing because it's ultimately unachievable. It keeps us reaching. It keeps us talking. It keeps us being innovative. It keeps us having hard conversations. As the world changes around us, we can continue to work toward these goals in establishing this just cause. Okay. And so our just cause is our purpose. Projected in the future, it describes a future state, right? Future state that hasn't been realized yet, but one we hope to see. I'm going to show you our just cause here in a little bit to give you an idea of what it looks like. But the just cause is the key. This is how you partner. This is how you employ. This is how you strategize. And this is how you link your strategy to cultural change. And so let's take a look at this, the next. Okay, so what do you do next? All right, if once you've worked on your strategy, once you've worked on your just cause and your culture, these are the goals here that through our work with OCLC, when I was working with them on the Global Council, these are the goals that libraries voted on that said that they can make an impact on today, right? So SDG 4, 8, 10, 16, and of course 17. 17 is highly important in order for you to be able to make any progress on any of these goals. Dare I say it's one of the most important ones, especially with the way budgets are in libraries. You must establish partnerships for the goals. However, if libraries are saying that that's what they can do right now, then I would challenge us to look at the SDGs a little differently. This is similar to the slide I showed earlier. Look at them in the form of the categories. Because if we can look at them in the categories of environment, economy, equity, health, and well-being, then we can actually chip away at some of the work in a fashion that is digestible. It's hard to look at all of the goals and wonder where you fit in. But when you find out that, yes, we do some things in our library that touch the environment. Yes, we do things that touch the economy. Yes, we do things that provide more equity. And yes, we are also thinking about health and well-being. Then yes, I can make progress on more than just those 5 goals that I showed earlier. I can do more. And we can do more, and we can establish the partnerships to do it. And again, to be able to establish that partnership, you need a strong just cause. And once you organize to implement around the just cause. This is the key. I can't drive it home any more than I can. The just cause is the key. Conversations are good, but you must inspire beyond the conversation. The just cause is the key. The just cause will allow you to focus on your culture. It will allow you to develop people within your organization. It will allow you to establish new partnerships and also give you organizational alignment in a different way. So our organizations are aligned in such a way where they make sense in a corporate model, especially a corporate model for libraries. If we're thinking about SDGs, I challenge you to look at the organization, organizational alignment of your library, and look at positions and start mixing the SDGs into job descriptions and into the skills of the people you have and into the development goals of the people you have, how you're going to develop them. And that will change your organizational alignment and give you more power and allow you to cover more ground in implementing some of the SDGs. But remember, the just cause is the key. So this is our just cause. Now, remember what I told you. Stands for something. It's inclusive, service-oriented, it's resilient, and big, bold, and unachievable. I'm going to read this. I know you can read, but I'm going to read this because it excites me. It says, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of all persons and nurture the equitable growth of our community. Through intentional social interactions and programs that unite all people, we live our lives in a way that allows all people in current and future generations to enjoy at least the same quality of life that we enjoy today. And we're talking about sustainability. Now, due to political pressures in our region, not everyone believes in sustainability. But those same partners who we partner with who don't believe in it, believe in this statement and have become partners and have since learned what we're talking about when we talk about sustainability, how we're referring to the sustainable development goals. And yes, it touches things that they do believe in, but it's the just cause that brought them in, not the mission, not the vision. That's strategy. It's the just cause that spoke to their heart. That's the key in establishing the partnership. It has to be written in such a way that you lead with that. When someone asks what I do not give them my mission statement. That's what I do. It's not why I do it. It's not the purpose. The purpose is what people connect to. But because we start with what we do most of the time, and then we tell people how we do what we do, they never stay around in the conversation to learn why we do it. We never get to the purpose, and it's the why in which people connect. It's not what you do and how you do it, it's the why. So when someone asks, what do you do in your library? What do you do at your institution? This is what I tell them. I give them an abridged version of this just cause. I said, we believe in a great quality of life for all people, and we work to improve the lives of everyone around us and future generations, and we empower people to create infinite futures. And the next thing they ask, how do you do that and what are you doing? Now we have a conversation because they've connected to my purpose. If you want to have true change, if you want to have the partnerships needed to be able to have change in your communities, to be able to see sustainability lived out in your lifetime in your library, create a just cause. It will empower the people around you and establish new partnerships and take you places where you never thought you could go or that you would see in your lifetime, and it'll actually create radical change. So thank you for that. Thank you for allowing me to speak. And I believe we still have some time for questions, but I'm not sure. So for those who are out there who are running this conference, please let me know. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not going to do that thing where I tell you just how excited I was listening to that keynote. I leave that for afterwards. I think let's afford an opportunity to everybody who would like to ask a question. I am going to take questions from the floor, but perhaps just to say thank you very much, Prof. I think you've really you've given us nuggets to think about. You've inspired us. You've excited us. You've made it tangible for us to do something. Let's hear from the floor. So I've got a couple of questions. I've noted you, ma'am, in the glasses. I'm noting you. So 2. Any more questions from the floor? I'll take 3. That's our standard. 3. Okay, I've got 2 from the floor. Do we have anybody online with a question? Okay, so I'm also inviting my participants online. We'd love to hear from you as well. Ma'am, I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you so much. Mike.
Okay. Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. I just want to make sure, okay, yes, you can hear me. You speak a lot about partnerships in your presentation, and you did mention that you have some corporate partnerships. So in terms of the corporates and the privates, are you linking with them because of the corporate social responsibility? Because a lot of, and with the privates, are they social enterprises? Are they for-profit enterprises? Like, those that are for profit, as much as your just cause is beautiful, they lead from the pocket, not from the heart. So with those kinds of partnerships, then how do you position yourselves to be able to appeal to them, knowing that they are for profit?
Mm-hmm. That is a very good question. So we had a really strong debate about this when we were thinking about who to partner with. Because at the heart of who we are, we partner first and foremost with nonprofit organizations. Those are the majority of our partnerships. But then we started reading our just cause, and if it's supposed to be inclusive for everyone, then we realized that we were ostracizing another group of individuals. And so we wrestled with the idea of whether we should really include corporate partnerships because of what their focus is. Their focus is usually, first and foremost, the return on investment in what they're doing. And some of those partnerships have fallen off, right? And that's okay. That we partnered early. The for-profit partnerships, they realized it wasn't something that they wanted to do. And long-term, because it wasn't giving them a big return on investment, and that's okay. That's fine. We're holding to our purpose. But there are those who are corporate partners who came into it. And as corporate partners in the United States, if you're a for-profit company, as far as taxes goes, there are tax write-offs if you do a lot of service and work with non-for-profits. And so that's where we fall in with those corporate partnerships. Their return on investment is getting the lower taxes from our federal government, but we still partner and have access to their resources. And so that's how we were able to weigh that. That's their return on investment. The return on investment from us, if they're expecting anything monetarily, when we established a partnership, we let them know that is not what we're going to do. And so if this is the partnership for you, that's great. If it's not, that's okay too.
Okay, we're going to move to the next question. Over to you.
Good afternoon. My name is Narasarel from Johannesburg City Libraries. My question is straightforward. What do you do in a case wherein people who are involved in a strategic positioning, they're the eldest compared to the young ones? Then how do we change the mission and the vision, therefore?
Yeah, that's a really good question. In the best way to do that work is to do it at what's called a grassroots effect. I'm speaking from experience. The elders in our organization did not want to change. They just didn't want to. And we decided to do the work at a grassroots level. So everyone who was not at the highest level, we did our partnerships with in educating our community. And because the elders in the organization who are doing strategic planning are still trying to serve the community, it was our goal to make sure that the community could speak forward the needs in which we were looking at and the lens in which we were looking through, which forced the elders to be able to do something that they didn't normally conceive that they could do or wanted to do because their community was crying out for it. But that was hard work. And I'm not going to tell you that's easy. That took about 4 years. And at the 5th year, we finally saw change. But it wasn't easy, but we had to start at a grassroots level. That's where you use your just cause at the grassroots level and establish those partnerships. And the partnership is just education up front.
Okay, I don't know if we have any questions online. Okay, we have some. Can I just add something, just based on what you're saying, Prof? I mean, I appreciate the contributions about how to manage or deal with the challenges presented by that generational diversity. And in a little bit of the work that I do, often what we find is that the older generation say it's not a case of not wanting to be part of some of these changes. It's a case of needing to manage that balance between the institutional memory that they bring, because they have been there for a long time, but also being mindful to not come and just throw a myriad of changes without them being able to kind of take them in and go, I understand. So sometimes the younger generation are very excited. All of these changes are coming, and it can become, I think, overwhelming. So for me, it's that wonderful balance between really appreciating the value they bring to the table because they have got the experience, and then alongside that, being mindful as we bring some of those changes. And I'll leave it there. I'm not here to respond to these questions. Okay. So let's hear from what our online audience have to say as well.
Okay, I've got a question from Janice De Vere. Thank you for the excellent presentation. What is your take on academic libraries can support SDG 17, strengthen the means of implementation, and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development?
I think, honestly, libraries, and this goes back to the conversation that was happening in the panel discussion. Libraries have to partner with one another. In America, we've done a really good job at that. There's still work to be done, but we started that work about 20 years ago out of necessity when libraries were beginning to disappear. And so we partner with one another first before we establish partnerships outside of libraries. And we established what we call union or global catalogs. We put our resources together to offer resources for public libraries, for academic libraries, for special libraries, all people logging into the same portal and all having access through their local communities, not needing anything special to be able to access those resources. And we pooled our money together to do that. And now that is the culture. It's been 20 years of practice, and that is the culture now. And it's how our vendors work with us. Our vendors no longer approach us independently without a consortial mindset because we forced it. And it was us coming together and telling our vendors, no, we don't want to do that. And here are our other library partners. We had to push back on them to do that. And so I've noticed from talking to my colleagues in OCLC, I've noticed that there are consortia that are standard in America that are not offered internationally because libraries haven't partnered in one voice and pushed back on the vendors yet. Libraries are doing that individually. And the individual voice, while it may say the things that are right and the things that should happen, sometimes it's not strong enough to move the needle alone. And so making progress there is first going to, in that SDG, is first going to happen when libraries partner together beyond partnerships outside.
Okay, thank you so much. We've got one more. I'm going to ask that we keep it succinct in the interest of needing to go and get that much needed lunch break. So I am handing over to the gentleman at the back. One last question, if you will indulge us, Prof.
Right. Thank you, Program Director. My name is Rudy Peterson, and I head up government and stakeholder relations here at the university. So I listened carefully to you, and I must say I like it when you said your mission and your vision needs to be reviewed and looked at sometimes. Now, obviously, I do a bit of strategy consulting, and sometimes we tend to focus on the SWOT, the infamous SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat.
Yeah.
But we don't look at the most. So those are theories, those are parts of strategy work. So most stands for mission, objectives, strategies, and tactics. And there's no way you cannot look at your mission and at the most. So, and sometimes I feel we get lost, and if you don't do a most, you're not dissecting and looking where you are. Obviously, the best political, economical, social, and technological is part of it, but I want you just to comment, and I like your analysis on the mission and vision. Care to comment? Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I hate SWOT. SWOT is created. I'm going to just be honest with you. SWOT is created for corporate businesses. We have put a for-profit model in a nonprofit organization, right? And this is why I say that. Your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats. SWOT is the way the model is designed is to look at, when you're looking at threats, you're looking at not just the threats of what you perceive are going to be challenges to your organization, but you're also benchmarking yourself against other institutions and other libraries as a threat, because that's how SWOT is drawn up. And so instantly, the way that you're organizing your strategy is in direct competition with someone who should be your partner. This is why we stopped using SWOT, right? We stopped using it 3 years ago. I don't like it, but again, everyone uses it. Looking at your organization differently and looking at it in a way where your strategy meets your purpose, but you're also mission minded, you can use a model that's called SOAR, SOAR. It's more work, but it focuses on the areas that matter, and it doesn't look at the people who should be your partners as your enemies, right? They're not a threat to you, right? So we use the SOAR model in implementing the just cause. And then also, when you're talking about SWOT, we also talk about SMART goals. What are your SMART goals that are in there? So we've expanded that, okay? So now you have your SMART goals. Think of SMART. And if you expand SMART, you can add an I to it. So now you're talking about where's your inclusivity, okay? You can also add an E to it. Where's your equity within these SMART goals? And you can also add an S at the end of it. where does sustainability rank in your SMART goals? So instead of SMART goals, you now have SMARTIES, right? You're looking at every possible thing that affects your strategy and your purpose. And you're eliminating the idea of benchmarking yourself against someone as a threat, and you're bringing those people in as potential partners. But the mission will help you do that once you have the purpose set.
Okay, and I think we're going to leave it there. So ladies and gents, and in fact I should say colleagues, in the interest of everybody who is here, another round of applause to Professor Earl B. Givens Jr. Thank you so much.